are live.
That's it, you got it.
Okay, maybe check that. Maybe just adjust it a little.
Yep.
Looks like it's pointed a little high, but.
Let's see. We've got you from the knees up. Looks sort of.
Knees up?
That's it. Have a right knees up. Yep. That's cool. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Good evening, Ross. Good evening, John. Hola, Carlos.
Just fiddling around while people get comfortable. Don't mind me. Been 2 weeks. I gotta do all the practicing I can at this point. Greetings, fellow shut-ins or recently released shut-in, or whatever your status may be. It's nice to see everybody. Well, it would be nice to see everybody. It's nice to imagine seeing you, at any rate. It'd be funny if just nobody ever saw any of this and it's all just me in my head.
Oh, I think that will never happen. Facebook says you've got 131 people with you, plus me.
Okay, well, we know that all our good friends in the UK are going to be doing the clap for a bit, so as always, why don't you come down?
Alright, alrighty.
Can't really do a show without an appearance from the missus.
Hello guys, how are you doing? I want to say hi campers.
What's that all about?
The correct response is ho-de-ho, isn't it?
In that accent, the correct response is whatever you want.
How's everyone doing? We're on day 60 of the lockdown. I've lost count at this point.
I don't know if you can really call it a lockdown at this point.
Yeah. Quarantine.
Yes, we have entered phase 1 after leaving phase 0 for us. So for us, let's see if we can make some sense out of the latest rules and regulations.
Well, we're not allowed to walk into a supermarket together, but we are allowed to be in the car together, but going where we're not sure.
Right, and everybody, everywhere, in public, must be wearing masks.
Right.
Now, those of us who don't understand, the masks are more for the protection of others, not necessarily for yourself. You know, any germs that you've got get held. But I think sports activities are still curtailed to only between 6 and 10 a.m.? Yeah, 6 and 10 a.m. And they have decided that it's just impossible to run with masks on, so runners are allowed to run without them. And I keep thinking, if anybody's going to be expelling massive amounts of air, it's runners. So I don't get that rule. I don't really get how it works at restaurants and bars yet, but I know some friends who started to go out with. Ian and Allison went to Palm Beach today.
Okay, cool.
So Palm Beach is open.
Yeah.
We will see you guys soon, absolutely.
And we'll be heading out for an Indian meal for my birthday in a
That's
couple of days'
true.
time.
Yeah,
And
a sadly understated birthday, as I'm sure many of you have had over the last few months, so you'll understand.
It's alright, because it's not the big one. The big one is next year, so that's okay. And on the subject of birthdays, we want to say Jill Williamson Wilson, happy birthday from Gillian.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for joining us. Happy birthday. What else are they not making us do here at this point?
It's all a bit confusing, to be honest. So we try to be very, very good.
Yeah, and we're not, like a lot of you, I'm sure we're not entirely ready to just go straight out. Neither one of us being drinkers to begin with, we're not gagging for a beer anywhere. Although, having said that, I had one the other day, and I got the most amazing text from my friend Mario Cano in Mexico.
Okay.
And he said, that's a bit torturous because they don't have any beer.
Ooh.
Think about that, folks. The people who, you know, deliver and make and process and ship beer, all not working. So in his city in Mexico, there is no beer at the moment. And I think for a lot of men, that is grounds for suicide and murder. You know? So, Mario, lo siento.
Bless.
What else have we heard about that's been going on? I must admit, I've been keeping kind of a low profile. Got sort of back online this week a little bit, but was just getting overwhelmed by stuff and just needed a break. So we're starting to enter into summer. Today was about 29 degrees.
Temperature's
so
going up.
it's getting up there. Now I think it's going to go back down. I think we're going to get a little more spring. Everything's blooming, so it is an absolutely gorgeous time to be here. And the Vaughn Rescue Service over here took care of a kestrel hawk who was trapped in an apartment today. So this one never stops, lockdown or no lockdown.
Honestly, I'm not a religious person, but God only ever sends me felines or birds. Felines or birds. It's unbelievable.
Well, that's good, because if you think about it, if we sent you a harp seal, where the hell would we put that?
But we've never encountered a puppy or a dog in 11 or 12 years, right?
You were sent a chameleon once.
True, I was sent a chameleon. That was
And some praying mantis.
Yeah.
Manti.
But it's
Mantises. Yeah, like Rylands is.
Yes, I did. I actually handled a male kestrel today, a wild one, intact. He was fine. We got him from A to B where he needed to go. He was trapped, but yeah, she's very emotional. Beautiful creature.
So that's about our story all told. So anything else we want to talk about?
We must be about ready to get started.
I guess. If all right, you ready to man the con? All right, you have the helm.
I have my chair and I will lead you.
Yeah, tell me how we're getting some folks out there, getting ready to go.
295.
Well, we're getting there. So I should get started. What do I want to do? I want to say hello to Isabel, who is watching from quarantine. She bad girl. She locked away because she been bad. It's a bit frustrating because, as I understand it, she's perfectly fine now. Been through it, out the other side, but still testing positive. So everybody's got to just hang on and see. So, and it's because, as you know, we don't really know how to handle this thing yet. So, thank you for joining me from the confines of, let's face it, a really big bedroom. It's a big room, but still, it gets very, very small after a few weeks, doesn't it? So, thinking of you as we have been, and let's play this one. What am I going to start with? Something off of Traveler. I can do anything, that's what she says. I could be anyone, that's what she said. Put on your masquerade and fake and play, she said. I need to learn to dance, that's what she said. Take that stick out of my ass, that's what she said. I need to pirouette and sweat and sway, she said. And she said, she says that I'm alright. She says that love is sweet and life's too short for embarrassment. I need to lighten up, that's what she says. I am so serious, even in bed. I've got an actor's heart, but I won't let it play, she said. And she said, work like you don't Thank you very much. One of you. Thank you.
Someone's already said they love the grey hair, huh?
Yeah, wow, okay, so I guess that's noticeable, right? That's part of my lockdown protest is I'm just letting it go.
Oh, natural.
Staying away from the chemicals for a while until either my career gets back on track or my ego just can't take it anymore. So, wow, I'm glad somebody likes it. So it's, what's the word, dignified, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah, we're not dignified. It's another word for old. But I don't mind. Actually, I started looking at it in the mirror and going, well, that's not bad. Let's see what happens. But we'll reach that point where I'll just have a gray skull cap and the rest will be black, and that's not going to look good. So we'll see what happens.
One day
You have to cut it.
No, oh no. one day you'll also be like Ian Grant's, just this.
Yeah, well, if I knew that was going to happen, I'd go for it.
Ian's hair is
Our friend Ian has
incredible.
long, lustrous silver hair. It's
And
awesome.
he smells nice.
I don't think they needed to know that, right? He also sings his butt off.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if I knew that was going to be the result, I'd leave it. But chances are I'm going to look like, I don't know, somebody spilled yogurt on a black asphalt road.
No, they're calling you the Silver Fox.
Ooh, I like that.
So now you're Ombre Machina and Silver Fox.
So of course, I've been doing this is the 8th one we've done, and
7.
no, this is 8th. I think.
Is it?
I think.
I think it's 7.
When in doubt, ask Julie. She'll know because she took it upon herself to make a set list of all of them. Bless her.
Bless.
So I thought it was 8th, perhaps it's 7th. Anyway, it's the nth time we've done this, and I've still been able to manage, I think, to come up with a set list that has no repeats in it. So I know lots of people want to hear specific songs, but if we keep doing this, we'll start repeating very soon. I think there's not too much, with the exception of occasional cover songs and things like that, little surprises I like to throw at you, which I have this evening. But I'm going to do one now. Oh, and as you may have noticed, I've nixed the slideshow this time. I just thought, not again. And I was going to put on the Netflix log fire, and then I just thought that's just going to make me sweat even more. So we just threw some albums and things up there for distractive purposes. So this is a song off the Digging Deep album, Tyketto song. I've been in the bad business, I've been out of my mind, I've been playing in traffic, I've been suffering in kind, I've been out in bad weather, a cause for concern, and I got no surrender, I got so much to learn. Oh, I know I should reach out from my confines, that's a lie. Finding the words is as hard as finding the time. I keep fighting all the hurt I felt. I keep saying I don't need your help. Everybody else knows I'm only keeping secrets from myself. I've been drawn to disaster, willing volunteer. I've been brought to a standstill by a burgeoning year. Got a bleak mental palette, but I paint what I see. I've been handing out secrets to the landscape in me. Oh, I don't know when I drew up these battle lines. I can find I play the part of the prisoner and the jailer combined. I keep fighting all the hurt watching for a ray of sunlight to make it all transform. It will in time. Oh, I know I should reach out from my confined battle lines, but finding the words is as hard as finding the time. I keep fighting all the hurt I felt. I keep saying I don't need your help. Everybody else knows I'm only keeping secrets from myself. That's a lie. That's a lie. Everybody else knows I'm only keeping secrets from myself. A song called Battle Lines, which is on the Digging Deep Tyketto album. Does sound a lot like a Vaughn solo song, though, doesn't it? Come to think of it. Anybody else been checking in? Who do
We
have?
have Germany in the house, Sacramento, we have Bulgaria, Wales,
Bulgaria,
all
really?
over the place.
Oh, cool.
Michael Markson's here, Tom Cullen.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for joining in. It's been a few weeks, 2 or 3, since we saw you last, and so nice to have you back sitting on our couch. I'm going to be a little more forward about this one than I have before, and just mention that since the lockdown's easing up in certain areas, my what do I want to say? It's just gone. Gone. Brain just went. Doesn't know the words for it. I can say anything.
Just sing instead.
On my website, yeah, no, just shut up and saying, I know. On my website, the shop is open again. We are shipping again. So I know people have been very kindly been placing some orders. So there are still a few DV t-shirts left, not too many. But of course we have the Myths, Legends, and Lies limited edition vinyl. There's some of that left. We've got the CD. I've got the CDs for Traveler, I've got the CDs for Standing Alone and The Road Less Traveled, and I also have downloads for my first 2 solo albums, Soldiers and Sailors on Riverside and Fearless. There are no more physical copies of those. I don't know if I have the what it requires to make more physical copies. I don't know if I've got the high-level artwork that you need to reprint. So that could be gone. Also going to run an idea past all of you while I'm chatting about it, which is I'm talking to a company that does basically t-shirts made to order, as in one at a time. And so what I'm looking at possibly doing is doing t-shirts for some of the albums that either had a very short run or none at all. So I'd just like people's reaction to, like I was thinking of doing, first of all, a Myths, Legends, and Lies t-shirt with the cover. I was thinking of doing another Fearless shirt. And I was thinking of doing a Traveler shirt, which we never had. So that's just kind of a kickoff. And perhaps something like The Road Less Traveled as covers for t-shirts. I'm just curious to see if people would be interested. But like I said, it's kind of cool because if you just get a buzz one day and say, oh, I'd love to have a Traveler t-shirt. Well, you can have it. And I don't have to print hundreds and hundreds of them so that 5 people can order them. So I'm looking into that, and I think we will have more info on that in a few weeks, I think. Also, my wonderful art director, Graham Purdy Bell, has finished up a just beautiful large booklet brochure. I think it's 16 pages that we did, all about the making of Myths, Legends, and Lies. It's got all my personal photos from the studio. It's got stories about each song. Of course, the lyrics and so much of Graham's wonderful artwork is in there. And so that will probably be coming your way in a few weeks for those that are interested in that. So, okay.
People love that idea. There's loads of people saying they would like it.
Cool. So that's it for now. I'll try to peddle you more snake oil a little bit. This is something off of the first solo album, Soldiers and Sailors on Riverside. I'll tell you more about it after I'm done, but I'm glad Mr. Markson is watching because this is one of his favorites. Probably help if I did that. Sorry. Josie sits by the fire escape window and she looks out on her American dream. Weekend boys are working on their cars and the streets are smelling of gasoline. Josie tries to ride on mama letters and she thinks about her man back home. Send some money back when she can manage and she sows once a month from her neighbor's phone. And she got pretty empty pockets, yeah, and she got pretty empty hands. And she thinks of all the things she wants to say to him. She hopes he understands. If this is paradise, then paradise ain't home. If I have to walk away, then I'll walk away alone. No use living in paradise when the lights are on and paradise ain't home. Josie watches the kids playing the hydrant and she smells the cooking from the floor below. Dreaming never stops talking and there ain't nothing to do, no place to go. And she got a black and white TV, don't work, and she got laundry on the line. And this three-room space still feels out of place, like she's sleepwalking all the time. She said, if this is paradise, then paradise ain't home. If I have to walk away, then I'll walk away alone. No use living in paradise when the lights are on and paradise ain't home. Oh no, no. Josie hears them fighting on the corner. They've been drinking since Friday noon. It's too hot for sleeping. Sunday morning is coming soon. And she got a hard case of homesick, yeah. And she got a bargain with the Lord. And she hopes she'll be forgiven for giving it up, but she knows she can't hold on much more. She said, if this is bad. That song is called Paradise Ain't Home, and it's on the Soldiers and Sailors on Riverside album. I started writing that probably, gosh, around 92 or something like that. I got the first ideas for it. It didn't get completed for quite a few years. But it was just written about, I had a girlfriend named Jerry who had an apartment in an area of Brooklyn that is now seriously des res, but back then you had to be somewhat of a visionary to, to live in Williamsburg. It was rough neighborhood, but it was one stop across the bridge from being in Manhattan, so a lot of people that worked in Manhattan lived there. And it was just chock-a-block with immigrants from all over the place. South America, Poland, a lot of Eastern European countries, and Jamaicans and all that. So when I would go visit her, there was just this ongoing melting pot of cultures. And on the weekends, especially in summertime, they'd be out playing soccer, and you do all the different languages and everything like that. And I often thought about, that was written just about the fantasy piece, just written about an immigrant who, came to America thinking the streets were paved with gold and kind of is a bit disappointed in what she found. So, but that's just my take on it. Anything interesting happening over there? Anything
Loads
you've been writing?
Yeah, loads of people love the t-shirt idea. We've got requests for a Vaughn's Day shirt, live in lockdown shirt, and requests for ladies skinny and vest top.
Yeah, we'll be able to do them in
V-necks.
whatever, baby grows, whatever.
And Ross Knowles wants to know if you've got extra large.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Although he's not that big.
Thomas Johansson says, Buen Camino.
Oh, Thomas, today was the day.
Today was the day.
Today, Thomas Johansson and I finished our short run
A year ago.
for us on the Camino de Santiago. It's incredibly difficult to describe. I know I think I put the video up back when it happened, but Thomas, if you remember, as we came into the city of Santiago de Compostela, you don't really see much from the outside. You start coming in from the airport area, and it's just like any other Spanish town. You're like, you've heard about this place, you've heard about it, and it's the way the trail is set out through the city. You don't see the spires of the cathedral till you're very close. And then once you're there, you start walking through the old town, and you'd see these, what are now some of them hotels and all that, but they're like 13th century convents and just stunning architecture. And in order to get into the Plaza Mayor, you have to go down some steps in stone stairs and all that. And there's a guy playing the Galician pipes inside there and all that. So for about 2 minutes, you're in this darkness. You got your packs on, everything hurts. And then suddenly you come out in this flash of light into a plaza that is just so huge. I was not prepared for that. I think it's bigger than the Grand Plaza in Madrid.
It's insane. It's like you just can't imagine it. It's massive.
And the cathedral is just stunning. And whether you're religious or not, if you've been on this walk, you have this feeling. Your chest just swells. It's hard to breathe. People are praying, people are crying, people are holding hands, people are just put all their gear down on the cobbled stones, and we just sat there for hours, I think, and looked at it. And it was one of the great experiences of my life, and I'm happy to say that I've already decided, I don't know when, I'm going to do it again, and Thomas has said he's coming with me again. So that's all I need, just one good friend.
He's up for more foot torture then.
Right, yeah, and who knows how much we'll do and when, but that'll be discussed in the near future. So yeah, what a wonderful memory. And I'm going to dedicate that song to that memory and to my friend Thomas. It's called A Million Miles of Road. I was born a painter's son, had a hard-working mother who got the job done. TV and bills to pay, and I never saw them coming, and I slowly watched them fade away. Here I am today, saying that I wouldn't want to take it back, oh no. What I started so long ago, I never thought that this is where I go, down a million miles of road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can clap along at home for this part. Oh, you have to stop. I got a one ring. This is how it stands. You wanna hear God laugh? Tell him your plans. Some days you run, some you just sit on your hands. All you can do is that's a situation you man. Well, I've still got my drummer, still got my health, still got plenty of miles in the tank left. But of all these things, I'd have to say the best of them all are the friends I've made along the way. And I wouldn't want to take it back, oh no. But I started so long ago, I never thought that this is where I go, down a million miles, and I still got so far to go, from Timbuktu to Tokyo. I'm so glad I got to go, down a million miles of road, a million miles of road. Get along.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, it's starting to get warm now. I'm feeling it. In order for this to sort of be visible, we pretty much have all the lights on, so it's a bit warm, but it's not the first gig I've sweated all over.
I've just told everyone online that song makes me very emotional because to me that is you. That song is absolutely you. That is my husband.
It is my story, yes. That includes peeing.
I was just going to say, but you were only 5 at the time, right?
I was 3. Yes.
3,
My
so-
mother told me that when we went to Europe, when I was 2 and 3 years old, and we walked on the Champs-Elysees, every time I saw a sculpture, I had to pee. And it was the 60s, it was Europe, so just peeing in public, no big deal, especially when you're 2 or 3. Apparently, I spoke some French when I was 3 as well.
Very cute.
I was reading some of my mom's letters, and she said people are mistaking my son for a French child because he's capable of communicating. And my mother also said that one of the reasons we went on the trip was so my dad could go all to the great museums of Europe. So of course we were in the Louvre. And I apparently walked around all the museums, my hands behind my back, very,
Yes.
very carefully. I'm not touching anything. In those moments, a very well-behaved child. Other moments, not so much.
I wanted to let you know that Dean Tyler Shelton is with us.
Oh,
so
Dean.
is Nadja in Portugal and Heather in France.
Excellent.
We want to say a happy 18th wedding anniversary to Neil and Janice, and also hi to Anne and Paul Quinton, who we do know,
Yeah.
from Susan Grant, who reckons she's responsible for introducing them to your music.
Really?
Yeah.
Must have been a while back.
And we also have New Jersey in the house, Pittsburgh, we've got Matt in Texas,
Hey, Matt.
we've got everybody.
I would also like to let everyone know, like I said, I haven't really been pushing it, but these, of course, are totally free concerts. But if you're in the mood, there is a donation button on the Danny Vaughn website, and people have been very kindly doing that. And I know a lot of you have been doing it regularly. So, but if that's an option for anyone, we're
DannyVaughn.com.
very, very grateful. At DannyVaughn.com always helps. No idea when any of us are going back to work. I've got one thing that's tentatively booked for, I think, the 29th of August, and it's hanging on there. It's myself and Michael Borman playing on a lake cruise in Switzerland. Now, I'm never going to turn down a chance to travel to Switzerland, even if it's for a day. So we don't know if it'll happen, but so far it's still on the books. We'll see by then what the flying situation is like, all of that. And I'm hoping it will, because I'd very much like to get back out there and play a bit. Other than that, there's nothing in the books until November. So maybe doing this here and again for a while. So this next song is one that I'm just pulling out of the hat. Now the original version of this one, this is not mine, a lot of the verses were all done with orchestration, so there was really no guitar part, so I had to just come up with something simple to see me through it. The guitar comes in the chorus and makes sense. I adore this song, I love singing it, and it takes me to some very special places. I don't know if you had this, actually, Melissa, you'll have to tell me, but as a kid, when I was growing up, one of the things we were allowed to watch on television was the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so that was the 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s. And Jacques Cousteau, if you didn't watch, was a French mariner who really was the first of them to start ringing the alarm bells about the conditions of our oceans and, of course, our interdependence on that. And a lot of people just kind of laughed a bit, and, and hence we're in the situation we're in now. And I'm in many ways glad Jacques is not alive to see what's happened to his beloved oceans. But it was the first time cameras were really taken into the sea, and these amazing sights were seen, which now, of course, he pioneered all sorts of equipment, including, I think, the rebreather, which doesn't produce any bubbles. I think was originally one of his template ideas. Anyway, it was always a thrill. We loved watching it, and it sort of kept us in touch with a little bit of responsibility to the planet, which, of course, is now a subject that we'll probably talk about a lot in our homes with everything that's going on. And I was very sad when Jacques, he died. But even sadder still when the author of the song died, because it was far too soon, and he was, to my mind, one of the great forces for good in this world. And that was John Denver. And he wrote this song, and it's called Calypso. To sail on a dream on a crystal clear ocean, to ride on the crest of a wide raging storm, to work in the service of life and the living, to search out the answers to questions unknown, to be part of the movement, part of the growing, part of beginning to understand. I Calypso, the places you've been to, the things that you showed us, the stories you tell. I Calypso, I sing to your spirit, the man who has served you so long and so well. Like the dolphin who guides you, you bring us beside you. You light up the darkness, you show us the way. Although we are strangers in your silent world, to live on the land we must learn from the sea. To be true as the tide and free as a wind swell, joyful and loving and letting it be. Oh, I Calypso, the places you've been to, the things that you showed us, the stories you tell. I Calypso, I sing to your spirit. It's an incredible song.
What a song.
If you don't, Calypso is the name of Jacques' boat as well, which is where that comes from. So.
Fantastic. Joe Black said, somehow I knew you were going to play Calypso.
Excellent.
I'm now crying. Thank you. John Denver was my hero and the reason I started learning guitar.
One of my heroes too, without a doubt. And it's hard for me too because he was also one of my mother's very favorites. So I think of her when I play John Denver. Wow. Well, okay. Not choose. I don't coast. In case anyone hasn't noticed.
Should we switch the fan on and then see if it annoys them with this noise?
No, it kind of annoys me, to be honest.
Okay.
Which maybe later we'll try it. But
Okay.
okay, so gonna do several songs from my From the Inside albums tonight. Which, for those who don't know, they aren't really solo albums. They're project albums where I was brought in to sing. Maybe half the songs I helped write and the other half were from outside writers. So this one is off the second From the Inside album, which is called Visions. And I wanted to try something a little different lyrically. It's a simple premise. It's the end of a relationship. I often think, when I think of the song, I think it's the end of a marriage. I think it's a pretty, a heavy ending, this. And if any of you have been in that situation, and most of us have, you'll know that men and women approach the ending of major relationships in very different ways. Particularly with marriages where there's a lot of stuff and houses and cars involved. You will more often than not hear men go, just take it. I'm out of here. If I can just go, draw that line and go. And it all sounds, like so much in favor of the woman, but I tried to start looking at a different perspective and see what it would be like to be at the other end of that breakup and being the woman in this and having stuff all around you. Maybe some of it's good, but maybe some of it's not. And how much harder it is for a woman to strike out again on her own after being in a relationship. The stigma that comes with it. With guys, there's all that virility bullshit. But with women, it's kind of like more the added weight of failure, which is also bullshit. And so this is about a woman who's been there and back and is finally stepping out into the sunlight again. It's called Making Waves. She's had to outgrow, to push into the past what used to be her everything, and the memories are still fresh, but they lost a little sting. What will tomorrow bring? She's making room. She's making sure that he's a part of yesterday, and she's not alone, so she's not afraid. She's making waves. Finally got around to changing all the rules, because things are only things, but their weight can hold us down. And there's some stuff out on the stairs to be given away. And she smiled today. She's making room. She's making waves. She's making sure So she's not afraid, making a way. There's a handful of regrets and a list of things undone. There were promises unkept, but those are there for everyone. And as she steps out of that house, she might make a little stir. Today belongs to her. She's making room. She's making waves. She's making sure that he's a part of yesterday. And she's not alone, so she's not afraid. She's making a way. She's making room. She's making waves. She's making sure that all the things she put away. And she's feeling good. And she's feeling brave. She's making a way. She's making a way.
Woohoo!
Ah,
Well, here's a funny thing.
okay.
Lorraine Gillian said my ex insisted on having the Christmas decorations. That's different. And we have people from Atlanta, Sweden, Switzerland, Ballymena, Bavaria, and Lorraine is with us in Bermuda, and her kitty cat Jolie is
Oh,
sending a
wow.
hello to
Hi,
Mr.
Lorraine.
Now.
That's so cool. Well, you provided me with an excellent segue because you mentioned Atlanta. Hello to anyone listening in from Atlanta. I lived there for several years, and so this was in 95, 96. I was actually living there earlier than that, but in 95, at the end of that is when I left Tyketto, and I really had no intentions of doing anything further musically. So, excuse me, I was just pretty much defeated, both by, it was very, very hard. People ask a lot about why that happened. There were a number of reasons. The woman I was married to at the time was unwell and needed more attention than I had been able to give. That was one thing. But more importantly, it was very difficult to watch, Tyketto in such a short period of time between 1991 and 1995. We worked so hard, the 94 tours, 95 tours, and it was just difficult. No matter how hard we worked, more doors were getting slammed in our faces, the audiences were getting smaller, and it just crushed me. It really did, and it put me into a very deep spiral and a very dark place. And so I really had no intentions of doing anything else, but I did continue to write music because what else could I do? I had no plans, and I wrote a lot of songs, many of which ended up on the first solo album, Swords and Sailors on Riverside. But I was thinking about somebody today. We went to get a car. And we went to one of the biggest car dealerships in the area. We lived in Peachtree City outside of Atlanta. And the guy who was in charge of financing, nice guy, and he cottoned on to the fact that I'd been a musician, and we got to chatting a little bit. And then when he found out about Tyketto and all that, he was kind of impressed, and it was really nice, and he helped us get the car. And it turns out he lived nearby us. His name is Mick Wilson, and I thought of Mick today. I have no idea if Mick has listened to any of these. I know he's still out there. We do send each other messages every now and again. But I thought of him a lot today because those songs that I wrote in that period, this next one, of which is one of them, I just wrote for myself. And as I said, I was mentally crushed by the business. And obviously in my mind, I was no good at what I was doing because I didn't succeed. I wasn't famous. I didn't have fast cars. I wasn't making money off of it. So I must not have been very good. So I wrote these songs just for myself. And this guy, Mick, who I love dearly, just coaxed out of me to play more. And he had a home studio. He was a musician as well. And this was still a relatively new thing. I mean, obviously he was financially doing quite well to have all the gear that he had. He had the NS10s. I think we were recording on ADATs back then. And he really kind of coaxed me, saying, why don't you come over to my place? I'll enjoy it because I'll get to play with all the toys, the recording toys, and learn how they work. And you'll get some of these songs down and get them to where you can listen to them. And the more I thought about it today, the more I realized that I owe Mick a great debt, because if he hadn't perhaps come along when he did, I wouldn't have gained any confidence in myself or what I was doing. So I'm thinking about him today. And this is a song that I wrote whilst in Atlanta. It was an absolutely perfect fall day. Just one of those days where the air and the light is perfect, and the breeze would go through the tree outside my window, and I could see every leaf shake. And I thought, this is the type of day I'd like to be remembered on when I'm gone. So I wrote this song that is being told from the perspective of someone that has passed on. And it's what they're saying to the people they've left behind. And it says, basically, don't forget me, but don't cry either. It's a mix. And I like to think of Mick when I play this, and I like to dedicate this to your Beanie family as well. It's called Think of Me in the Fall. Weep not for me in the morning. The morning brings warm, sweet rebirth. Look not for me in the daytime. Young spirits play on the earth. Think of me kindly at evening. Sunset's colors bring us back to the start. Make no decisions at nighttime. Nighttime lies to your heart. Think of me in the fall. When the world is turning colors, think of me in the fall. When we would reach for one another, think of me. Don't fear the coldness of winter. I'll wrap you up like a long woolen coat. Catch just the faint smell of roses. Laugh when there aren't any flowers about. In the young embrace of springtime, let your fancies turn to other things. Please don't be lost in the summer and the forgetfulness it brings. Think of me in the fall, when the night air is for sleeping. Think of me in the fall, when the memories are for keeping. Think of me. Think of me. I will guide your steps away from trouble that's unseen. I will light your way on stormy seas, and the breeze that shakes each leaf to shine and leaves you dancing beneath the trees. That will be me. That will be me. So don't hold so tightly to sorrow. Sorrow gives nothing in return. Walk in the fields by the roadside, when the leaves are starting to turn. And if a songbird serenades you for just one moment, won't you smile and smile for me? Think of me in the fall, when the world is turning colors. Think of me in the fall, when we would reach for one another. Think of me in the fall, when the night is for sleeping, sleeping. Think of me in the fall, when the memories are for keeping. Think of me. Think of me.
You've reduced everyone to tears, including me. Ah,
The tissues are out.
how could you ever have thought that you weren't very good? How could he ever have thought it, guys? You've got a message from Autumn. It's a message from Ted Punley via Autumn.
Oh, really? Uh-oh.
Yes, it's for the next Vaughn's Day, and he says that he would love to hear you sing the Queen's song "Love of My Life" that you did in Sweden.
Oh, Ted said that?
Yes, he
Oh my
did.
gosh. Wow, you cannot turn down a request from a man in an inflatable spacesuit. I can tell you that much. I think of Ted a lot because I think he has probably lost it. Bless him. He's done some amazing stuff. I tune in every now and then with his pool party stuff. And he's got just the best sense of humor and more guts than anyone I know. Bless him. So, okay, Autumn, I will take that on board. See what I can think about that one. So Think of Me in the Fall ended up on the Traveler album, even though it was written in the I'd say late 90s. This is also a song from the Traveler album. This is one where I get to really sort of do my thing. Sometimes I open with this one when I feel I need to get people's attention. But it has a difficult story behind it. It's a bittersweet song for me because I love the song. but it also represents one of my great failures. And that is that I was contacted by a gentleman who I'm still occasionally in touch with. And he wrote to me to tell me this really, really heartbreaking story of his young son who had sustained a really awful accident and terrible injuries that led to him having had, I think, a dozen or more major surgeries on all his internal organs. Just stuff kept going and kept going and kept going, and the doctors were saying, don't hold out much hope. And this beautiful boy lived for quite a few years, into his young teens, if I'm not mistaken. And so his father is contacting me and saying, I'm a musician, but I don't think I have what it takes. I want to tell you my son's story. Would you try and write a song for me to play for him? I've never had a challenge like that in my life. And I couldn't turn it down. I couldn't say, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I had to try. And unfortunately, the request came at a time in my life where I was in a really bad place in my own life. A very, very deep spiral, a lot of depression. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't, I'd pick up the pen, I'd write a line or two, and I just can't touch this. Eventually I did. I got it. And I think I got it right. From my perspective, his father would be the one to tell you better, and he would be right. But I felt really strongly about it. And unfortunately, I finished it after the young boy had passed away. So he never got to hear it. And that's why it represents a great failure on my part. And I keep that memory with me to remind me to not let the black dog hold me down, because time is fleeting. And the song is called Miracle Days. These are the miracle days. Whoa, whoa. Every step you take on earth, a billion atoms crash and scream. And every time your young heart beats, it's another deep fulfillment of a dream. If my final hour was at hand, well, I didn't say all that I had to say. Will there ever be a doubt at all that I should live my life no other way? But here you stand when no one should be standing, walk where no footsteps should be, hold me with your eyes commanding, laugh or no laughter, come to me, come to me. From the point of no return, we can grow older with no lessons learned. From the time of journey's end, there's a message coming. Every moment, every place, these are the miracle days. what no footstep could be. Hold me with your eyes commanding, laugh or no laugh would come to me, come to me. From the point of no return, you fought the tide and fate was overturned. From the time of journey's end, we can live again. Every single breath you taste, these are the miracle days. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yo, 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 yo.
I'm quite sure they heard you in Australia.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to get us a denuncia from the neighbors, I'm afraid.
Superb.
Right, I'm going to swap guitars for a minute here. So,
We've got
Yeah, okay.
Connecticut in the house, Mexico, Madrid, Barcelona. We've got Amanda Green has joined us.
oh, what's up, girlfriend?
Carol Emsel is in pieces. Good job, no one can see me. I'm not a pretty sight. Everything you're playing is making her burst into tears.
Okay, we'll have to play something a little less serious, I think.
And Isabel Arbini is watching you and has just had some very good news.
Oh, excellent. Hooray. Good news is needed. Right. Your patience, for those of you who haven't seen a lot of these shows, if you haven't, this is my original 12-string that I bought when I was 16 years old. And she's still beautiful. She wrote quite a few songs on the Don't Come Easy album, several more all through my career. But tuning is a little bit of an issue, so. That's not bad, actually. So, okay, perhaps something just a little less serious. It's one of my less politically correct songs. It's on the Diggin' Deep album called Here's Hoping It Hurts. I stole this beginning from Cheap Trick. Might as well tell you now. Happy fun, that one.
That song is being appreciated in Bermuda.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I've written one or two songs in my career that, as I say, are politically incorrect and are not about turning the other cheek and forgiving, but are actually about not forgiving and getting thoroughly pissed off. And it's quite amazing how many different people have come up to me over the years and goes, "You wrote that about me, didn't you? Yeah, you did." Like they're happy about it. Strange.
Well, I just told people it is called the I'm Pissed Off song.
I got a few of those. Deep water, you know, we're killing each other.
Yeah.
Right.
It is 10:15, just so you know.
What time is it? Okay. Okay, I'm going back to the first From the Inside album on this one. Everybody always asks me to play the song that I recorded, that LeAnn Rimes had recorded, called Damn, and we did that a couple of weeks back. But I actually recorded two songs on that album that LeAnn Rimes had done, and this is the other one. This is a Nashville song that I'm just going to rearrange a little bit, kind of do it a little bit my way. It's called Suddenly. It's Independence Day, I'm free, and that's a strange place to be. I'm gonna break these chains, unleash the changes in me. I see an endless road, I feel the restless wind. I've lost the fear inside, but I got no choice but to live or die. Suddenly you're in this fight alone, stepping out into the great unknown. And the night's the hardest time, when the doubts run through your mind. Suddenly you find yourself alone. Suddenly you find yourself in an empty room, with a suitcase on the floor. It will be daylight soon. I'm gonna wage my private war. Who's watching over me? Must be a guardian angel. I just need time to breathe and to give my life the best of me. Suddenly you're in this fight alone, stepping out into the great unknown. And the night's the hardest time, when the doubts run through your mind. Suddenly When the doubts run through your mind, suddenly you find yourself alone. Suddenly you'll find. That one doesn't get brought out too often.
People are absolutely loving it. Gorgeous arrangement, says Ross MacDonald. A lot of people saying they love the From the Inside songs. And David Wayne says, once again, your voice turns me into an emotional wreck.
I hope that's a good thing. I'm not here to do any damage, folks, I promise. That's very kind. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the From the Inside stuff, because I got another one for you. This was the single off the first From the Inside, and it was the first time I'd shot a video in ages. You can tell because I'm doing the old Christ pose on it. We all do that in our videos. Stare at the sky. Oh, I'm at your mercy. I don't know what that is, but it looks good. And but it was kind of funny because I remember I shot that at Fabrizio Grossi's place. He was the producer of the album. Somewhere around California, but I can't remember exactly where now. And we were talking, and you know, he said, well, obviously we're doing stuff on the cheap as best we could. The circular shots were a guy sitting in a camera on the back of a flatbed truck, just driving around me while I turned counterclockwise. And he said, yeah, and then last thing we're gonna do is get some aerial shots. Like, aerial shots? What the hell? You know, this is before. You know, the
drones.
Yeah, before drones. And I was like, how are we doing that? He employed a guy, I don't know what you call those things, but basically it's a chair with a fan on the back. And that's it. You know, maybe a little parachute, I can't even remember.
It's like something out of James Bond.
It was just, yeah, it's just a guy with his ass strapped to a big fan. And he had a camera. So he was doing the aerial shot. And was just one of those things where a little bit younger, a little bit crazier. We finished, and you know, I knew we had to go somewhere. I said, Fabrizio, how much time we got? And I said, oh, I don't have to. You know, we're gonna pack up. It'll take us about another 20 minutes. And I looked at the guy on the fan and said, take me up.
Oh, nice.
And I went up on this ridiculous craft, which was made of basically like coat hangers put together with wire, you know, with duct tape, and took that ride. And it was good fun. So I can't remember. That's not an ultralight. I forget what they call those things. Suicide is what someone call it.
I was going to
Anyhow.
say, you lived an ultralight. That's what Matt Warden said.
It is an ultralight.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the old memory's working all right. Okay. The song is called Nothing at All. You live in a prison of reason, four walls and your pain on display. Tragic figure left with no plan of escape, but there is a way. I look deep inside that dark, and I know that without love we could have it all. Tell me you've never taken chances. Tell me you will take my hand and walk in this world with all its expenses. Believe when I say that it takes nothing at all. I've looked out beyond this horizon. I've seen past this damaged day. The wind blows 1,000 chances your way, and we can celebrate. I look deep inside this heart, and I know with this love we can have it all. Tell me you've never taken chances. Tell me now is the leap of faith, and what in this world can stop us from dancing? Believe when I say that it takes nothing at all. You can say a litany of belief, a million ways to play walking every step beside you. Yeah, tell me you never taking chances. Tell me now is the leap of faith, and what in this world can stop us from dancing? Believe what I say, that it takes nothing. Tell me you never taking chances. Turn away from the pain of it all, 'cause loving and living, it's taking and giving. Believe when I say it can be nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Woohoo!
Right. So that was my girl's 3 songs for the evening. She still got it, bless her.
Sounds amazing. What a tone on that guitar.
So, switching back.
So a chap called Nick Brace, he says I've got to do this in a Somerset accent, Davey. I'm sitting outside in the twilight, enjoying the gentle sounds with a pint of cider and a gentle breeze off the Somerset levels.
Oh,
Heavenly.
that does sound nice.
That
doesn't
sounds lovely, Nick.
it? Yeah, cider would come in handy, wouldn't it?
Jim Shaw says his evening's been made again. Ruth Rookledge says, this is the song I use to introduce my friends to your music. I love it so much.
Oh, nothing at all. Ah,
And
that's cool.
Shirley Budden says, I can't believe the talent, energy and passion. What a joy to share this even through my tears.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you guys all very, very much. I appreciate that. I think I got like one old Tyketto song left in the trick bag that I haven't played. So let's. I'm pretty sure I haven't played this one, but we shall see. I don't think anyone will be upset if it's a double. Let's crank the numbers out. Must have stood on that runway for hours. Must have watched 100 planes fade away. Said goodbye to every one of them, and everyone took you away again. If I need to know that you're waiting, if I need to hear that you're mine, write your name in the sky, send it flying so high, let the wind blow in my way. Roll a message in the sea, send it sailing to me. Take these clouds from my eyes, write your name in the sky. Tell my secrets to your picture. I catch the smell of you on your pillow at night. Sometimes I don't know what goes on inside my head, and I hope I told you everything I should have said. If I need to know that you're waiting, if I need to hear that you're mine, write your name in the sky, send it flying so high, let the wind blow in my way. Wrote a message in the sea, send it sailing to me. Take these
absolute belter, classic tune, sounding awesome, totally love it. These are the comments.
That's just you.
Yes, that's just me.
A couple things. Funny things that run through my mind. I don't always get to. People have asked about all kinds of songs to play, and I do read a lot of the comments. I don't get to them all, and there are an awful lot of requests. There are some things like there have been plenty of people asking if I play Eagles songs, which would seem fairly obvious, but I'll explain that again. The Eagles Publishing Company has an algorithm on YouTube that searches out people playing their material, and if they're getting too much attention, it shuts the sound off, which of course had happened when I was with the Ultimate Eagles. So I don't want to risk it because I like, when this is all over, putting this up on YouTube so that people can watch it in their spare time, you know, and enjoy music whenever they have the time to do so. So there's that. There are some songs that I've never found a way that I'm satisfied with to play acoustically. So people will occasionally request something like Faithless or things like that. I haven't found a way to do it where I'm happy with it yet. So it's not just a matter of, I'm not going to do it. There's some that are tougher than others to translate into an acoustic medium. And so this is one that I've only done maybe 2 or 3 times ever. Oh, and I should say, it's getting towards the end of the evening, so I should say once again that, you know, of course, totally honored that you guys stopped in, spend time with me again. We'll do another one. I'm not going to do them every week, but maybe every other week. So watch for the notices, and we'll see, you know, if people are going to have the time, because of course, you know, people are getting back to work and all that. So
There's a lady called Eleanor who says, would it be too much to ask if you could please do this every night?
Probably a little bit too much, but thank you for asking. So I will just mention for the last time this evening that if you have at all the possibility or the inclination that I am taking donations on these concerts, I'm not demanding them. I don't have to have them. There's no terrible dire need, but you know, it's just helping to keep the wolf away from the door. And there's a donate button at the DannyVaughn.com website. So thank you for everyone that has. Believe me, I've seen all your names, and it touches my heart when you do. It really does. So thank you for being there. This is another song off of From the Inside. This is off the Visions album, which was the second one. And I just decided to change it. It's called Push Me Off. Picture me a leading man, snow white horse and flashing blade, a rebel force at my command, a reckless charge to the barricade. You order lady to be free. One look is all I need to push me off the edge, so I can fly to the unknown. Push me off again, into a love I've never known. Push me off and hold on tight. Together we will fly tonight. Picture me a pirate king, heart of fire and feet of clay. Dare the chance but fear the strain. Spirit willing, head gets in the way. I saw your face, I was undone. I know you're just the one to push me off the edge, so I can fly to the unknown. Push me off again, into a life Together we will fly tonight. Oh, tonight.
Gorgeous.
I like that arrangement. I may keep that.
Lovely. Inma says, muchas gracias, Dani, por tu música. Nos alegras el día. You really brighten our day.
Muy amable, gracias, Ana.
And Hannibal says, Danny, you choose today to kill us.
And that coming from a guy who stormed the Alps. Right, I'm getting sweaty, so I'm just going to pat this down a little bit.
Cliff Ibbard says, thank you, Mr. V, for melting away the stresses of my week.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really what I'm hoping to accomplish most of all. Because as everybody knows, we're a long way from out the woods. And, you know, I think about all this every day. Actually, there's a strange thing happening. I've noticed it's not just us. I've talked to a few other people. There are some of us, take out the illness and the fear and the death for a minute from this statement. But there are some of us who are a little bit sad that some of this is coming to an end. Because if you think about it, what do people generally say when people are asked like what their regrets are? Oh, I wish I spent more time with my family.
Yeah,
I wish I had more vacation time. I wish I had time to write that book. I wish I had to, you know,
in the garden.
Yeah, time in the garden and all that. And suddenly we have it. Yes, we're not getting paid, which is a little frightening. But I think a lot of people are coming out with a slightly shifted focus. You know, I certainly am. I know you are. You know, we're kind of discovering new paths for ourselves. And it's the silver lining, you know, and if you look at the world, what the world is like because human beings just stopped running all over it at full speed with all their toys all the time. Sure. Our water out here on the beach is crystal clear. Yeah. You know, and they're not allowing pleasure craft out at the moment. They are allowing the fishermen to be out.
I'm still laughing about all those massive, was it goats or sheep taking over that place in Wales? That village.
Yeah, I think that was splendid.
They're massive, those sheep.
Yeah,
and they're just
the sheep just showed up.
Right, well, you know what? There's no humans around, so free pickings, guys. And they just went through all the gardens and everything. Huge.
So then, you know, I mean, it's a terrible situation. We've all lost people that we care about and all that, but there are other things that we can take away from it, and there's no reason not to, you know, to give ourselves strength.
Having said that, Kaz Bennett says, could we send a quick shout to Doug Pinnock, who lost his mum this week, with love from us all?
That's so hard to hear. Doug Pinnock is one of my absolute musical heroes. I think he's got one of the greatest voices on planet Earth. He's the lead singer and bass player for King's X. And we won't make more of it than that. I got to meet him on the Monsters of Rock cruise finally for just a minute or two. And I pretty much was a babbling fanboy. So that's very sad to hear. And Mr. Pinnock, from all of us who love and respect you and whose music means so much to us, which in my case, it means a great deal. We're sorry for your loss, and we send our love to you and your family. On an upside, it's Greg Smith's birthday today.
Woohoo!
Greg is 29 again. And Greg is our beloved bass player. We get him whenever somebody else isn't using him, which isn't easy because everybody wants him. But Greg came into the band a couple of years back, and he's recorded with us on the We've Got Tomorrow, We've Got Tonight DVD, which I'm getting ready to watch that again. I think I can watch it without curling up into a fetal position and crying. I thought it was one of the most exceptional things Tyketto had ever done, and it was amazing because Greg brings just this absolute force. He's a beast on bass. And he can go toe-to-toe with Michael Arbini on drums, which not many can. And so the two of them are just a powerhouse together. And then when we did We've Got Tomorrow, We've Got Tonight, Greg just changed hats completely and turned into this beautiful, subtle, melodic player and all that. And plus, he's probably my favorite goofball on the whole planet. I love him to death. I just don't want to share a hotel room with him ever again. Happy birthday, Craig. We love you.
Happy birthday.
All right, I'm going to do one of my favorite songs that I've ever written of my own that nobody else likes but me. And I don't care. It's my show. When I was growing up, there was a lot of interesting music from all over the world in my house. There was a lot of interesting books from all over, a lot of philosophy and the Tibetan Book of the Dead and all kinds of crazy stuff. And one of the things that I enjoyed reading was a story called Monkey, which is a Chinese Zen Buddhist myth, which just basically starts out that once there was an enormous stone boulder, and the winds of heaven shaped it until it became a perfect stone egg. And that stone egg one day cracks open, and out of which steps fully formed a stone monkey imbued with magic powers. And before it's all over, he basically attempts to take over all the deities of heaven. And so you combine that kind of a childhood upbringing with stories like that, my imagination was allowed to run wild. And I wanted to write a song sort of in the vein of the way John Lennon did. John Lennon was not afraid to write songs of absolute gibberish. There are some Beatles songs where the lyrics are completely nonsensical, and it was purposeful. These aren't nonsensical, but they only hang together loosely. Anyway, so I'll tell you more about the song after I play it, but it's a fun one. It's called Stone Monkey. There was a wake-up call in quarantine, show of hands in suffering, and the patron saint of Midtown for playing 3 card all day long. The sky turned the color of tourmaline, and the nurse shop brought me atropine. The monkey crash in heaven's scene. He does not belong, and I can't wait until the lights go out. I just might find out what all the shouting's all about. Lunch was served on the barricade. There was a civil suit by the chambermaid. I turned the tired circle in a rowboat with one more. The sign is given and the runner steals. Achilles rocked back on his heels. Overhead the thunder peals. Stone Monkey goes to war, and I can't wait until the lights go out. I just might find out what all the shouting's all about. Here comes monkey see, monkey do something else, 'cause he sure don't want it up like me and you. Monkey time, monkey shine, everything gonna work out just fine. Yeah. There was a hawker passing shirts around. There was a tourist trap on sacred ground. 4 big heads are laughing down while the people are detained. Paris burned and the critics wailed. The old guards were taken off to jail. Putting some monkey ruled in heaven's pale, and everything has changed. And I can't wait until the lights go out. I just might find out where all the shouting's all about. Yeah. Monkey see, monkey do something else, 'cause he sure don't want it up like me and you. Monkey time, monkey shine, everything gonna work out just fine. Monkey sing, monkey do something else, 'cause he sure don't want it up like me and you. Monkey time, monkey shine, everything gonna work out just fine. Yeah.
Plenty of people like that.
No one ever requests that song, ever. So I remember that song very fondly because Jamie Scott played bass on that album, and both my first solo albums. And it was a rare opportunity where I just looked at Jamie and I just went, go wild, play all the notes, you know, and he did. It was just ridiculous. It was crazy bass playing on that song, but it was so much fun. It was almost like Red Hot Chili Peppers-ish.
Very much.
No.
Yeah. Loads of people are saying they haven't heard this before, but they're dancing and they're all clapping.
Well, it's on Soldiers and Sailors on Riverside, which you can download at my website. You can get it from me, not from Amazon.
Eleanor says it might be gibberish, but it's brilliant gibberish.
Well, funnily enough, thank you, Eleanor, for reminding me that the postscript to that story is, after I wrote the song, I was in New York City, and I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was not too far from when we started recording the album. And my friend Mark Mangold, who I did the Flesh and Blood album with, great keyboard from Drive She Said and a number of other bands, great keyboard player. He was doing a session in a club off of Broadway somewhere, and it was one of these things where like all these New York session players showed up, like after their studio gigs and stuff like that. And he asked if I'd come down and do some backing vocals with him and possibly play a little guitar, I can't remember, on some songs that I'd done with him before. So I said, sure, yeah, I'd love to. And then he said, I think everybody's going to get a shot to play at least one song of their own, so, you know, be prepared for that as well. And I just really kind of written Stone Monkey and was rather proud of myself for it. And so I thought, what the hell, you know? So I when it was my turn, I played it just like you heard it there. And there was a guy in the audience. I didn't even know guys like this still existed. Now, this was, you know, late 90s, but still, he was an absolute beatnik. He had the beret, he had the dark John Lennon, you know, black sunglasses you can't see through. He had the French striped shirt and all that sort of thing. And when I announced the song, I remember I said something along the lines of, if Entropy had cheerleaders, this would be their fight song. And when I was done, this man walked on the stage, stood in front of me with his Gauloise in the side of his mouth, and he went, fucking genius, man. Fucking genius. Let's do an old one that I suspect you will all know, from a long time ago. Originally written by the great and wonderful Merle Travis, been done over and over and over again. Tennessee Ernie Ford had one of the more famous versions of it, and this Merle Travis was a great guitarist, and he's gotten me so addicted to the C7 to B7 slide. I put it in so many songs now, so I owe Merle for that. Some people say a man is made out of mud. Oh, man made of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bone. My dad's weak and my fat dad's strong. We're 16 tons of bloody kid. Another day older and deeper in debt. See me, won't you come? 'Cause I can't go because I own my soul to the common soul. I was born one morning when the sun doesn't shine. Picked up the shovel and I walked down the mile. Loaded 16 tons, a number 9 cold, and the straw boss said, well, bless my soul. Loaded 16 tons, what do you care? Another day older and deeper in debt. Say, won't you call me? 'Cause I can't go because I own my soul. Oh yeah. I was born one morning when the drizzling rain, fighting in trouble with my middle name. I was raised in the Kingrave by an old mama line. Ain't no high tone woman make me walk that line. You know, 16 tons, what do you care? Another day older and deeper in debt. Say, people, seem to be becoming better, step aside. A lot of men did, a lot of men died. Husband steal and if the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Say, but don't you call me, 'cause I can go. You see, I owe my soul to the Rolling Stone.
You love that last chord, don't you?
I love that chord, yes. That is a slight version of the James Bond chord.
That's beautiful too. A lot of people are commenting on our resident magician in the room.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a game I'm playing now with Tozy Tori.
Ah.
'Cause, you know, I've put up little figurines and then he watches it with his figurines. So I want to see if he's got a big old Gandalf Tozy. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure he did mention something about Lego.
Oh yeah, no, he did the Lego, yeah. Well, so we've come to the end. So I want to thank everybody once again for joining. How many do we have tonight? How many people watching?
350 at the moment.
Okay, that's beautiful. We're both very, very grateful. Thank you, Julie Bootman, for being there. Once again, I didn't call and ask. And I was like, she'll be there. She'll help. I know. Thank you to you, my dear, for being part of this, as always. Part of the team.
Thank you to him.
Well, it is my joy. It really is. And I'm definitely missing getting out there and doing this. I really am. You know, even the local places like O'Callahan's and, you know, we can't do it yet.
No.
You know, but
It's going to be a while.
Rob, when you're ready, I'll be there.
36 people shared the stream tonight. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. In the previous weeks, we've been up to, I think, between 10 to 12,000 people reached per show on account of people sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after we post it up on YouTube, either by the end of the tonight or tomorrow, whatever. You know, it's just great. I love hearing from everybody. I try and read all the comments that I can, and as I say, so maybe, you know, we'll tentatively say kind of pencil in your calendar for 2 weeks from now, and we'll see if we can do another one. We'll have to start repeating songs, I think, and I think that's fair enough.
They don't mind. They were asking about Rescue Me.
Yeah,
and
that's
some
one
other
that gets asked
stuff
about.
off
Yeah.
of SIM.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones out that are just tough to do acoustically, but it's in here. I'll look into it.
My knees won't take it down there. Thank you, guys. See you.
So I don't know why I really wanted to play this last song tonight. It's obviously, as you will see, not one of mine, but I just love it. It's very, very atmospheric, and I almost never get a chance to play Pink Floyd. Breathe in the air. Don't be afraid to care. Please don't leave me. Look around, choose your own ground. Long you live, high you fly, smiles you'll give and tears you cry. All you touch and all you see, and all your life will ever be. Run, smile from the veil. Do you think you can tell? Did they force you to trade your heroes for ghosts? Hot ashes for trees, hot air on a cool breeze, cold comfort for change. Did you exchange walk on part in a walk for lead role in a cage? How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. Have we found the same old fears? Wish you were here. Good to warm my bones beside the fire. Far away across the field, tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees to hear the softly spoken magic spell. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We wish you peace. We wish you health. And all those good things. Look after one another and be kind to yourselves. Good night.
Bye, everybody. See you in a couple of Vaughn's days.